So both are same. You can see both are same. Both are equivalent. So now this is, if you see, advantage of adversary in guessing the message will be b equal to b dash minus 1 by 2, and this is negligible. So if CP is secure, we say the scheme, public scheme is in the CPA secure if it is computationally infeasible to obtain a non-negligible advantage. So if this advantage is non-negligible, it basically means the scheme is in the CPA secure. Okay, and now when this probability is 0, when this advantage is 0, it basically means that there is a perfect security. We can't guess anything about the plain text. It's not negligible, not only negligible, it's 0. That is a then it will be perfectly secure, and that is the idea of security. Okay, this is the security, then stronger security than this one. That sometimes the attacker, I have sent some message to you, ciphertext to you. The attacker may know his choice of ciphertext and corresponding plain text. So maybe in the past, you have revealed him. Maybe you might have revealed to attacker that in the past for this ciphertext, this was the plain text. Or the attacker may be close to you, and he knows that your previous ciphertext and corresponding plain text. Somehow he knows, or maybe of his choice. Okay, so he may, since he is close to you, he may ask you, can you decrypt this ciphertext? Okay, so maybe casually. Okay, so that is called, if the adversary also has this kind of facility, he knows his choice of ciphertext and corresponding plain text, that is called in the CCA. And to accommodate this in the game model, adversary is provided the decryption oracle. So adversary can ask the challenger to provide the plain text corresponding to his choice of ciphertext. So that will be there. Now another stronger one security notion is indistinguishability under adaptive chosen ciphertext attack in the CCA2. So in this case, same case, but here it's adaptive also. The I plus 1th query may depend on the answer of ith query. Okay, so in the game model, you ask what is the plain text corresponding to the ciphertext. Once he knows, then the adversary may ask new ciphertext. Okay, so this is called adaptive. And right now, this is not only theoretically. So if you want to give your public key crypto system to the industry, you have to provide this security in the CCA security. You have to show that your scheme is in the CCA secure. Then only people will listen. Okay, so this is the one. So now, okay, so this is the equivalent game theory. So adversary knows his choice of plain text corresponding to his choice of ciphertext, and now you want to that notion we want to accommodate in the game theory. So what you have to give is you have to give adversary a decryption oracle. So basically he has some ciphertext and he can decrypt it. You will get the message. So in this case, the oracle, the challenger will behave as a decryption oracle. So adversary will ask him, please provide me the plain text for this ciphertext. Okay, so challenger will provide it, and this he can do polynomial number of times. Okay, feasible number of times. So once this part is done, then adversary will give two messages of his choice to the challenger, and challenger will encrypt one of the messages. Okay, and that ciphertext you will give it to the adversary. Okay, now the adversary has to guess whether the b is equal to 0 or 1, whether the message is equal to m0 or m1. That he has to do. So again, sorry, in this case also, in the CCA2, you can ask again, after getting the C star, again adversary can ask the plain text for his choice of ciphertext. Only thing is, this C star should not be equal to C dash, it should not be equal to C star. This one. And then you will guess it. Then you will give the probability. So in this one, if his probability of guessing b equal to b dash is much more than the 1 by 2, it basically means the scheme is not secure. The probability is guessing equal to minus half, this advantage probability is equal to negligible, then it means that this scheme public key crypto system is secure. Okay, that is it. Okay, this is the security notion. So anytime if you want to prove that the scheme is CCA2 secure, in the CCA2 secure, you have to show in this game. You have to show that in this game. Then you have to show that the advantage is negligible. That you have to show. If you can show advantage is negligible, it means the scheme is secure. So this is the proof criteria. Okay. Proof by reduction. Okay, so this is negligible. Or you can say, and the proof is, if you want to attach that one, that is negligible. Or you can say, if so, the proof is based on proof by reduction. Okay. So thing is, already we know that we have some hard problem. Okay, so we have some hard problem like RSA. Yes, you have RSA hard problem. Okay, so that everybody knows that this is a hard problem. Okay. Now, so you have hard problem P. So this is the hard problem. Here, this is RSA hard problem. Or you can say lattice hard problem. Okay. So now, if you want to prove that your scheme is secure, what you have to do is you have to show this part. You have to prove this. You have to prove this statement. This statement you have to prove. What is the statement? What you have to prove is if A be an adversary that breaks the scheme. Assume that if the adversary claims that he breaks the scheme, then you can say there exists another challenger. And there exists a challenger which will use A to solve the P. So A can be used to solve P. So it basically means if you are saying that if someone can break my scheme, then you can use that answer to solve the hard problem. Okay. So if you show this one, if you show A implies B, A is basically adversary break the scheme, and the B is basically the adversary can be used to solve P. There is another challenger who can solve the P, using adversary's answer. Okay. If you can do this one, and then what will happen? You might have seen in the some part. This is equivalent to not of B implies not of A. Both are same. Both are equivalent. Contrapositive. You might have seen the logic. This is contrapositive. So A implies B is equal to not of B implies B. So this means if B cannot be solved, in polynomial time, the hard problem B, it cannot be solved in polynomial time. Not B is there. Cannot be solved in polynomial time. Or you can say P is intractable. Intractable means it cannot be solved in polynomial time. It cannot be solved in feasible time. Then the scheme is unbroken. Scheme is unbroken. So this is the proof. So this already you know that this is not solved. This is true. Whole thing is true, and this also is true. So this will be true. So it means your scheme is unbreakable. So this is the proof. Okay, so you have to show that. You have to reduce. You have to reduce to the another one. Okay, so anytime if you want to prove that your scheme is secure, you have to take one hard problem and reduce the scheme to the hard problem. Since the problem is hard, since no one can solve the hard problem in polynomial time, so in this case no one can break my scheme. Okay, so that's the point. This is the way you have to. Okay, so this part security notions we have done. So now we will see now some modern lattice-based public key cryptography. Okay, so now we'll see some modern public key cryptography. So recently Regev invented this hard problem, that is learning with error, LW. So this is, and all the modern schemes are based on this hard problem. Okay, so this is hard problem. So what is this problem? Searching. So let's say I will see first searching, then you can say decision problem also. So we'll see the decision problem later. So now you see here, you are given some arbitrary number of equations, any number of equations on 4 variables, S1, S2, S3, S4. And we know that this equation is approximately 8. If it is equal to 8, not so basically this is 8 minus some small value noise, or 8 plus some small noise. It's not like equal to, okay, that we'll see that part. So it's something equal to 8 minus small noise, okay, 16 minus small or 16 plus, so like this one. So it's unequal. Now if you have this equation and if it is equal, and then you have 4 variables and you have 4 equations, then easily you can solve by the matrix that by a matrix equation A into S is equal to B, then you can get the S. But if you have unequal here, this is not equal, okay, this is 8 minus something, then to solve S, to find S1, S2, S3, S4, it is hard. To find S, ZQ4 is hard. Here, this is the P. This is the P. Okay. So this is when I used to show you. If, for example, if you have a small Q, if Q is small, then it is not hard. If you take Q equal to 17 or some near to 1000 or 2000 or 5000 or even 1 lakh, then it is solvable. Okay. So this is hard only when the n, the number of variables are of this range, 2 to the power n. Okay. You have 4 variables, not the 2. So number of variables to the power n, and Q is polynomial of n. Okay. So Q, the prime number, is of the 300 bit. So then this is 300. So if the Q is of 300 bit, so value of Q is basically here 2 to the power around 300. So 2 to the power 300. Okay, so this 2 to the power 300. So if the Q is of 300 bits, then this is hard. One cannot compute S. Okay, so you have n number of variables to the power 9, and this Q is roughly polynomial of n. So nearly 300 bit polynomial. Roughly the polynomial is, the prime number is 2 to the power 300. Then this is hard. Okay, so that is the LWE search problem. Find problem, search problem. Okay. Now, or you can say, if you write those things in more proper way. So what is done is basically here, these are the things. We'll say this is equal to 8 plus small noise, small value. 8, let's say, is 8 minus 0.0024 is equal to 8 minus 0.02, small value. Okay, then it will be equal. So that way we are adding. So what we are doing, we are adding small noise. So this is AS. Okay, so AS plus E. So we are adding small noise here, and then we are making it equal to 8. This is plus or minus E, then equal to 8. Okay, so that we know. So we are converting this problem into this. We know A is matrix. A matrix is this one: 14, 15, 5, 2, 13, 14. This is matrix A. We know A, and then we know AS plus small noise. That we know. We don't know the small noise. So we know it's, let's say this is less than 8 or So AS plus E, that value we know it. So this value we know it. What is this one? AS plus small noise, because it is not unequal. It is not equal one. Okay. This we know. So we know this one, AS plus small noise. The B, that is basically B, the previous output. You can see that is the 17, that is the 8, 16, this one. Okay. We know this one, we know this one. Okay. So now, and this is the from the Gaussian distribution. So we know that Gaussian distribution is normal distribution like this one. Okay. So E is selected from the Gaussian distribution, and this is the lower value. These are lower values near to 0. So probability that one will choose the near to 0 will be very high. So basically, so it will choose the E as very small, E near to 0. You can choose this high value also, but the probability of choosing the high value will be very, very low. The Gaussian distribution you can see here. So only the terms which is near to 0, their probability is high. Okay. So E will choose using the Gaussian distribution. So the previous one, we can say this one. So you can say E is chosen from the Gaussian distribution, and we know AS plus E and A. Now, knowing this one, it's hard to find S. Hard to find S and E also. So both is hard. Okay. So the previous equation we have, this is equivalent to this one. Okay. So we know A and AS plus E, and from this one, that is also arbitrary number of times, not only one equation. We know many equations, any number of times, and from them, it's hard to find S and E. Error also. So if someone gives you AS plus E and A, and that also many equations as you wish, you will not be able to find S or and E. If you can find E, then you can find S also, but you can't find both of them. Okay, so this is called learning with error search method. Now decision version. So decision version basically means you have to answer only in yes or no. That is a decision problem. So NP P problems, you know it in algorithm. P problems, the decision problems. Yeah, decision problems where the answer will be either yes or no. So now this is one oracle, one part. One part is real one. So you are given A and AS plus E. So this is the oracle one, where S is fixed. So I'll give you one side. I have given this kind of equations: A and AS plus E. That is B, the output value B. Okay. So A is the stress sample from the Gaussian distribution. So this I'll give you, and then I'll give you truly random sample of same size of A. This size A is the vector of dimension n, and this is one value, dimension only one. So I'll give you vector of random value of a vector of size n, and then one value on Z3. That is this one. Okay. So one side I have oracle 1, this one, another I have this one, and the adversary will not be able to guess whether the data is from this side or this side. So basically, you cannot say that if you give you A and B, you cannot say that whether this B is equal to AS plus A or B is random. These two are not related. That you cannot say that. If you can say that one, it basically means you can solve the LWE problem. So the adversary in polynomial time, you cannot say that whether it is A, B, or random. So that is called decision problem. Okay, so you cannot distinguish. Yeah. Okay, so Now we have seen two problems. One more problem I will tell you. This is the LWE. If we give you AS plus AE and random, you cannot say whether this is a random or not. That is one problem. Or you can't compute S from this one. Another problem I have told you already, SIS problem. So just I'll show you SIS problem. So these two are used. This SIS and ISIS problem. These are so both are same. Only difference is given AE equal to 0. Okay, you know that AE, you can't find the E such that AE equal to 0 and the E is less than beta. Okay, or you can say you can't find E which is only of 0, 1. So 0, 1, the maximum value will be 2 to the power n, 2 to the power n. So that is also minimum. Okay, so if you have 0, 1, that is also considered to be less. Size of 2 to the power n. Okay, that beta is size of 2 to the power n is considered to be less. Okay, so that this one. So if you have E, which is if you say E is 0, 1. Okay, E is 0, 1. Not only Z key 0, 1. You can't find E of size n from the 0, 1. That also you can't find. So this is this. Or if you have given A equal to U, then you can't find again E which is less than beta. Now it is given U. So this is SIS and this is ISIS problem. So these problems and LWE problems, so these hard problems are used to construct the public key crypto system. Okay, so that we'll see now. Okay. So first crypto system is also in this one, is given by the ordered Regev. Okay, so 2009. Okay, 2008, 2009. Okay, so that is the. So yeah, so you have n, and there will be n cross m matrix. So roughly n will be around 300. Okay, m will be around 3000, something like that. Okay, so 300, or you can see, and n is equal to 3000. Okay, so roughly this one, and q will be of around 250 300 bits. So q is also 300. This will be there. Okay, so now the private key is S. So now they are using LWE to generate public key, So you choose S. That will be your S is a vector of dimension n. Okay, so each scalar of S will be from ZQ. Q is 300 bits. The Q is prime number of 300 bits. Okay, so this is the case. Now private key will be it will choose AI and will compute BI. So B is the private key, sorry, public key. So A is random n cross m matrix. So the matrices are, you can say, 300 cross 3000. Okay, that means. Okay, so n cross m matrices A, and then it will compute B. So A and B will be public. So what is the A? AS plus small noise. Okay, small noise. So this will be, you can say, this will be like lattice point, and this small noise. Right. Okay, so B STA. Okay, this is public key. So now encryption. Okay, so now the encryption. So you know that all the encryptions are randomized one. So only the RSA, textbook RSA, which you have seen, is deterministic. Deterministic means for the same message, always the ciphertext will be the same. Okay, For same message, now also if you encrypt, you'll get the same ciphertext. Tomorrow also encrypt, you'll get the same ciphertext. Then RSA, textbook RSA is the deterministic encryption scheme. But all the secure encryption schemes has to be randomized. So randomized basically means same message you will have different time, you will have different ciphertext. This is one time C1, this one. Okay. So same message here, different time you will have different ciphertext. That is called randomized encryption. So this encryption scheme is also randomized. So provably secure scheme has to be randomized. Without randomized, it will not be secure. Okay. So all you can see Algol, all ECC, they are randomized. For same message, different time, you will have different. So now the randomization is done using the IS problem. So the IS problem is used to randomize the encryption. Okay, so what you will do? It will choose, you can see this part here, X. Okay, you can see here, it will choose X, okay, of size M, 0, 1. So that is sort. This is sort. Okay, this is sort, the beta. So I told you, when you choose 0, 1, that is sort basically. Okay, so it will choose the while encryptor will choose X, and this is not revealed to this randomly chosen, and this will not be revealed. This is not public. This is private to you, and then it will compute U, which is X1 A1 plus X2 A2, all these things. So A1 is the individual vector of matrix A. Okay, A1 the column vector or row vector. That it will get AX. If you combine one, you will get AX. Okay, A into X, matrix A into X. This is the randomized one. So X is used. So this AX, and then you do BT, the public key, into X, and then you bit Q by 2. So here they are encrypting one bit at a time. So that is a problem in this case. You can see for one bit, this much you have to do. The encryption cost may be okay, but the size of the ciphertext per one bit of the message is very high. Okay, you can see n equal to only one bit. This is the message. This is the formula: bit Q by 2 plus BTX, and you can say this X is chosen at the time of encryption. So if you want to encrypt right now, the X will be one particular value. If you want to encrypt tomorrow, the X will be different one. So so the same message, the ciphertext will be different. That's why it is randomized one. Okay. So now this X is used to randomize it. Now you can see here UAX. Okay. So this will be public. Ciphertext will be U and U dash. Ciphertext will be this U and U dash. Okay. From U, the adversary cannot compute X. Why? Because of IS problem. Okay. Inhomogeneous that shortest integer, what is the IS problem. So given YU, given A, he cannot compute sort X. This is sort enough. 0, 1, if elements are there, that is sort enough. He cannot compute X. Okay, so that is the so here IS problem, hard problem is used to randomize the encryption, and the LWE problem is used to compute public key. Okay, so now decryption. The decryption again, you can see the decryption here. So if you see this part, you can see B is given to you, and B is BTX. So you can say this part, if you subtract here, so this is XA. Okay, so AX. So AX is AX. This is AS. Also you can say AST. So SA you can say. So if you multiply in the B S, Okay, if you multiply here, if you multiply, if you multiply is B S A, so B is S P. Okay, okay, okay. So if you multiply in the U, if you multiply S, here S, then this part and this part, BT is equal to STA. BT is equal to BT will be, okay, BT will be STA. If you come this side, okay, and here S is missing here. So you multiply S here. S is private key. This part and this part will be same, and then you subtract U dash minus S into U, ST into U. You subtract this one, you will get this value. Get this value. So that's what decryption is done. And from here you have to get this is you will get bit into Q by 2, and then you have to see. That you have to see. So then you have error also. This part also is there. That you will see. Okay. This also will be there. This is the case. So if you see U dash minus SPU, so you can say SPU. You see SPU. Okay. So this. Okay, so this STU, so that B dash into ST U dash minus STU. So if you do STU and BT is basically your STA, so ATS, BT will be ATS, and this is also STS, you can say ATS. Then this will, now you are multiplied here. This B with the E into, sorry, this one minus X. So this E and X also will, BT is this one. EX also will be there. So EX plus this term will be there. So EX plus this one. To subtract, you will get EX plus BTQ by 2. Okay. Now the answer is either 0 or 1. 0 or 1. Okay. So you can say that this will be 0 if this is closer to 0. Okay. So what the idea is that if this is closer to 0, if this is, if it is 0, then you will get EX only. If it is bit equal to 1, then it will be closer to Q by 2. Okay, so you will see this value. This will be either closer to 0, assuming that is EX is very small, very small. So then it will be bit equal to 0, then it will be closer to 0. Never it will be 0. This part will not get 0. Okay, but it will be near to 0. Or if it is bit equal to 1, it will be near to Q by 2. Okay, so the output is, if you get this value is closer to 0, or basically it is less than Q by 4. Q by 2 is there, Q by 4. If this is less than Q by 4, then it means it is near to 0. Okay, because Q by 2 half is Q by 4. So if this is less than Q by 4, then it will be output will be 0. If this is more than Q by 4, then the output will be 1. That's what we are doing. Okay. Now, maybe this. So now what you have to do is, if you want to, this is 0, then this part is 0. Okay, no problem. But if this is 0, but if EX is more than Q by 4, then your answer will be 1. Answer will be 1. But the message is only 0. This is 0, but EX is Q by 4. EX is Q by 4. Okay, so that then your answer, decryption will be wrong. Q by 4, and this will be it will be 1. So your decryption got wrong. So if for correctness, this noise has to be less than q by 4. These noises Ex has to be, so you are get the error term, this is called error term, that is Ex. Okay, so this Ex has to be less than q by 4. Now, what is the E? X is 0 or 1. So in worst case, in the X, all the bits may be 1. Okay, so E is the error value chosen from the random distribution. Okay, the normal distribution. So not random, normal distribution. Okay, so now if you find out this part, n Ex from the random one, sigma square. So the Q4, roughly the Q value comes out to be the 10 into standard deviation of the normal distribution. Okay, and if you are taking this one, this is the difference. All this might have seen this. Sorry. Okay, this is the center. This is the center 0, and you know that 66% are from in the range of this area is 2 sigma, and 3 sigma is around this 3 sigma covers 99 point some percentage. Okay, so when the value E is more than 3 sigma, the probability is less than 0.5, but here the q by 4 is 10 sigma, so q by is 10 sigma, it may be near this one. Okay, so the probability that this error will be this one is very low. Okay, so that's why this is correct. Okay, otherwise it will may be wrong because it's not getting 1 or 0. Clear? So q by 4 comes out to be 10 sigma here, very high. So this probability that the error is chosen from the Gaussian distribution, so probability is near to 0 is very high. Okay. Probability that error distribution will be q by 4 near to this value will be very because q by 4 is 10 of standard deviation. The parameters are also chosen such that 10 of standard deviation. So this will be very low. Okay, so probability that the error term is greater than q by 4 will be negligible. So that this will give you the correct answer. Clear? Okay, so this is the correctness. Okay. So now the dual, this was given by in the 2010. This was given in 9, I think. GPB, 3 writers. Last one is Indian, Vaikunthanathan. So G, I forgot this one. Okay, so they have given the dual public key crypto system is similar to previous one. This is like this one. Okay, so here the first one here it was LWE. The key generation was based on the LWE hard problem. Okay, and the randomized encryption was based on IS problem. Okay, so what they have done is they have interchanged. Key generation is based on IS problem, and randomized they have used the LWE they have used for randomization. LWE they have used for this randomization. Okay, so this they have just reverse it. Rest is same. Okay, so you see this in this case 2 hard problems are used. Okay, and in one case LWE and ISI1. The previous one LWE is used for key generation, and ISIS1 is used for to randomize the encryption. Now just they have reversed it. GPB they have reversed it. They have used ISI for the is same as previous one. So they have used ISI for the key generation and LWE for the randomized. So you can see here equation everything is almost same. You can see X sort X or the elements are 0 1. This is also if you choose the elements from 0 1 that is considered to be sort. Okay, X, and then you find AX. So this is a public key. From B and A, from B which is AX, one cannot compute X, sort X. That is this one. So this is the ISI's problem. Okay. Now they have used they have used this one, LW problem to randomize it. So now U, STA plus E, this is LW, ST plus A plus E, this is U now. This is U now. Okay, so this, so it will choose S randomly at the time of encryption. So different time, this value will be different. Okay, for same message, different time it will be different ciphertext. So STA plus E will be U. Okay, and then U dash will be the bit, the message bit Q by 2 and STB plus E. Okay, so now you can see you want to compute this bit, you same as you have done previously, U dash minus multiple of something U. So you see STA, you multiply X here. So this is STA, B is AX, so B is AX. Okay, so you X is the private key, the receiver side know the private key. If you multiply X here, this will become STBX will become, okay, so STBX. Okay, so and there is already STBX. Sorry, STB will become. If you multiply X here, AX, that will be B. So STB will become this one, and subtract this one minus this one. You will get bit Q by 2 and some noise, and then the noise again same idea. So you do access. So you see here, you do manage access to the user. So then plus again some noise will be there. EX. So EX will be a little bit more terms will be there. So you see E dash minus EX. So this EX, not EX basically here. So E dash minus EX, but E dash is very small. So EX will be more, so that EX more dominating term is taken. Otherwise, if you see more collection, this will be EX minus E dash minus EX. The same idea, this has to be less than Q by 2. So basically this will be closer to 0, then output will be 0. If closer to Q by 2, then output will be 1. Okay, so the EX again has to be less by, again, since E is chosen from the normal distribution, the probability that EX will be more than or equal to Q by 4 will be negligible. That we already use. Okay, so they are the same thing. So both are same. Both are similar. Only thing is they have changed the hard problem. Now, as I told you, the drawbacks. If you see the this part, if you see here the size of the public key for to encrypt 1 bit. So if you want to encrypt more bits, you have to repeat the same process. Or there are some little bit efficient method technique is there where you will choose same S. So that you can see multi-bit encryption. Okay, so that you can see in the papers. Okay, so this is the case. Now you can see the public key n cross m matrix, n cross m elements of size Q, that is A, and then B, n values of size Q. So roughly how many values are there? N cross m, nm plus n. So nm plus n. These many values are there of size Q, size of prime number Q, 300 bits. So only thing is here, if you compare with this RSR or L-Gammon, so there right now maybe the prime number is one. Initially it was 1000. The prime number was 1000 bits. Okay. So sorry, n was multiple of 2 primes, and that was around 1000 bits. 1024 bits, something like that, near to 1000. Okay. So now the n was, the public key was consist of 1000 bits roughly. But here the Q is less, around 300. But how many values are there? Nm plus n. So nm plus n into 300. You can say these many, this is the size of the public key. And here you have only the public key was only one value, 1000. Size of 1000, public key was 1000. Here nm plus n, where n is 300, m is, I told you, 3000. So into 3000, 300. This much bits. This much size of public key. Okay. And the ciphertext size also very high. You can see the ciphertext size also is u and u dash. This is very, you can see m. Size is m. There are only one value was there. In the algorithm you have two values. Ciphertext is two values. RSA only one value. Textbook RSA. But anyway, so let's take algorithm two values. Two values each of 1000 bits. So maybe 2000. Here how much is there? Each is q and you have m. Then this side also only one q. This is only one. So m plus 1 into each of 300. So this is ciphertext size also is very high. Okay. For the computation is, you can say computation can be easy also, because just you have to multiply vector and matrix. Matrix, vector and matrix. And then you have addition. So computations are comparably very simple, because in the RSA you have to do the exponential. So exponential takes a lot of time. Here only you have vector, you have to multiply with the matrix. Those kind of things are there, and those can be parallelizable. So this is the problem. Okay. Okay. So now we will prove that this scheme is secure. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll take LW hard problem AP, and we'll see one random scheme, and then we have to check whether this is a valid one, a calculator one, whether P equal to AP plus E, or both are random numbers, random schemes. That is the hard problem. Okay. And then the public parameter you will give it to the adversary, and adversary will give one message. Okay. You will encrypt or you will give random string, and then he has to guess. He has to guess. Adversary has guessed. And if adversary can guess whether the ciphertext is random, or ciphertext is the real one or random one, then it basically means he can, that scheme is not secure. If you can't do that, it basically means that scheme is secure. So here they can't do it. You can see here in the encryption side directly you have LW. Okay. So if you say that, if you can guess, if you can, adversary can tell that whether C star, the ciphertext, is random or valid one, then he can tell that whether that LWE is random or the valid one. Okay. So if you can break this one, then you can break the LW problem. So since he cannot break the LW problem, it means the adversary cannot break this scheme, and this scheme is secure. This is the way you have to do. Okay. So this you can directly link. So now you can see ciphertext and the hard problems are directly linked. So if you say something, if you say that this scheme is random, then we will say that the other person will say the scheme is directly linked with the LW. So you will say LW is the LW hard problem is the random. So it means he has solved the LW hard problem, which is hard. Okay. Okay. So this we have seen. So one part of the thing. So any questions till this point? Okay. Any questions?
Sir,
Sir?
We are having lattice-based, code-based, and isogeny-based, like the different post-quantum cryptographic systems are there, na sir? Okay. Sir, am I audible? Sir, among them, can we specify that lattice-based is good among all? Can we justify it, sir?
I have not studied the code-based all these things, but in the literature, this lattice based, code based, hash based, and attribute based. Some 4 are there. So among them, the people are saying that lattice based is the promising one. So I'm not seeing whether clearly they are telling that this is good, other things are bad. No, this is, so the comparison will be for efficiency. Okay, the efficiency, that ciphertext size, public key size, and encryption cost, complexity of the encryption, complexity of the decryption. Okay, so if you want to compare two lattice based and code based, you can compare like this way. That size of the public key or size of the ciphertext and encryption cost, and in the similarly code based encryption cost. So then you can say which one is good. So if you take, let's say, in both the crypto system, if the public key size and ciphertext size is same, ciphertext for 1 bit, not like ciphertext size, ciphertext per plaintext. If that is same, in both cases that is same, and in the lattice based, let's say encryption cost is less, then you can say that lattice based is good.
Okay, sir.
But I don't know whether people have done this kind of study. That I don't know. So this is maybe done. But among all these, lattice are getting more popular. You can see in the literatures also. Because the lattice also other things. The fully homomorphic encryption, the fully FHE is based on lattices. So that's why lattices are, and some lattices are also implemented. It is used also. Some versions of anti-RE, which is also related to lattice, and that is also maybe it is used somewhere. Okay, that is what I heard. And this lattice is not efficient for the. Another is an ideal lattice, where the circular things will come up. That is better than this one. So efficiency wise, so maybe the ideal lattice. Now more things is on ideal lattice. That is more efficient than this lattice one. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. Like, so fully homomorphic encryption is actually a subset of lattice-based cryptography, or like, is it a different entity, sir? Like, it's an application of lattices itself, or?
No. The fully homomorphic is like this one. Suppose you have one algorithm. Okay.
Yes, sir. I have read a few papers on that. That's why I was asking, like, whether it's the part of like it's employing lattices only for.
Yeah. That's why you have one algorithm. I have one data, and you don't want to give your algorithm to me.
Yes,
and
sir,
also
without decrypting.
Also, I don't want to give my data to you. Okay. So because the data is private. So and I want to run my data on your algorithm. So what to do? So what I do is I'll encrypt my data and give it to you, and you will apply your algorithm on the encrypted data.
Yes, sir, without decrypting.
And that this way you will not get it, and that output you will give it to me, and I'll decrypt, and I'll get that output of the decryption will be the algorithm application of the algorithm on the data. That is very challenging one. But
yes, sir, and we can employ only lattices for that, sir. Like it's a subset of lattices. Okay, sir. Okay.
So what I'm saying is this FHE, see, all the encryption schemes, you need some hard problem. So till now, the encryption schemes, FHE schemes, fully homomorphic encryption schemes are based on only lattices.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I understood now. Yeah.
Not based on other hash hard problems, or you can say other code-based hard problems or RSA hard problems. It's only lattices. So that is another advantage. Not only this one, recently also is there multilinear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I have heard this. Yes, sir.
Yeah, bilinear pairing is there.
Yes, pairing based.
Pairing is only 2 dimensions. Yes. Multilinear, you have n dimensions. So that also is based on the lattices. The schemes are given, so schemes are there. That is also based on only lattices. So that is the okay.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
Now this is the case. This is the public key cryptography. So now I move on to another type of cryptography, crypto system like identity-based crypto system. Okay. So now if you see here, one of the drawback of public key cryptography is your public key has to be authentic. Suppose I have convinced you that the director of NIT teaches the public key is this one, XYZ at the rate of NIT. This is the public key. And I have not given you the certificate, but somehow I told you, and you saw that I am telling correct, true, and you believed on this one. So what will happen? You want to mail to the director using this public key, and you will send him. But this is not the actual public key of the director. Someone is the adversary who knows corresponding private key to this public key. So what the adversary will do? Whatever message you have sent to director, he can easily read it. He can decrypt and he can read it. Okay. So that's the problem. So for public key, one of the problems is public key infrastructure. That is called, you have to, if you want to send a message to someone, you need the person's public key, and how you will be convinced that this is person's public key. So there are certificates are there. So the trusted party will issue the certificate, and that is the little bit big problem. That is the disadvantage of the public key cryptography. You need certificate that the director's public key is this one, and sometimes intermediate trusted party may not do correctly, and some problem may come also. Okay, to avoid this one, in 1984, Adi Samir, who has done a lot of work, fundamental work in all areas of the cryptography. In RSA also is S, the same Samir. So not only here, he has done many things, and he gave the idea of identity crypto system. Okay, so where you don't need certificate. You want to send me a message, you don't need my certificate. Okay, so you want to send the confidential message to your vice chancellor, your VC, you don't need the certificate for his public key. So that kind of things. Okay, you don't need certificate. So, but he gave just concept idea, and for next 17 years, the scheme was not there. There was no scheme on this part. There was no scheme on this identity-based crypto system. So the scheme came only in 2001, which was given by Dan Boneh and Franklin, is one, and Cox, he has also given independently. So the Dan Boneh, their scheme was based on pairing, and Cox was based on quadratic resolution. Okay, so but this Boneh Franklin scheme is more popular. So these are given. So now, what is the IB? So in IB key is also a public key encryption system in which the arbitrary string which uniquely identifies the user can be used as a public key. So this is the idea. Yeah, like your email, your phone number can be public key. So you want to send the encrypted message to your VC, and you know that his mail ID, director something, and the director, and I also something that mail ID already you know, and that mail ID is unique to the director. Okay, so you can assume that mail ID as his public key, and then send the message. Okay, so anything which uniquely identifies the person, like mail ID or his phone number or anything else, that can be his public key. That's what idea was there. Okay, so this is what. So benefits, no certificate are required. Okay, so otherwise you need some proof that this string is public key of the director or public key of the VC. Okay, that is not required. That is the benefit. Now this is the benefit. Some drawback also is there. So everything has some pro and cons. So this is the benefit, and we'll see a drawback. Okay. Okay. So this is the case. So how it works? So what you will do? You know that director's mail ID is director@au.edu, something like that. Okay. And you will assume that as a public key, and you will encrypt the message using that this as a public key and send it to the BC. Okay. Now the BC will receive the ciphertext, but he doesn't know the corresponding private key. Although you have given the public key, that one, but he doesn't know the corresponding private key. But he can't decrypt it. Okay. So what he will do is there will be in this IV, there will be some trusted party will be there, key server. Okay. So here it is not fully in the public key cryptography in RSA, all these things. It is fully, there is no trusted party, but here a small trusted party will be there. Okay. That is the key server. This is the trusted party. Okay. Now what you have to do? You have to authenticate. Now let's say someone is sending to you. You have to the key trusted party is, let's say, BC of the Anna University. So what you have to do is you have to authenticate to the key server or BC that I am professor this one, and please issue me the private key corresponding to this public key. And then he will have some scheme. He will have some master key. From that master key, he will compute the private key corresponding to this public key. And then you will get the secretly you will give it to this person, and he will get the private key. And with that private key, he will decrypt the message, and he will get the message. This is the way IV works. So now what you have to do is, here one person is there who will be seeing, who knows everyone's private key. So this key server, you can say. So there's some kind of, so that's why this is used some kind of some small organizations like among the Anna University, among NIT. Okay, so if you want to send among your colleague, if you want to send them confidential message, so what you can do is you can take their mail ID, and using that mail ID, you can send them the message. You can compute the ciphertext and send them. And then they need, from their mail ID, they need corresponding private key. They will authenticate themselves to the VC, and VC will issue them the corresponding private key, and then they can decrypt. So only thing is here, the trusted party will be knowing everyone's private key. But the benefit is here, you don't need certificate kind of things. Okay, so that is okay. So now, if you have institute is there, and then institute cannot issue the keys, private keys for all the employees. Big institute is there, so it's very difficult for the one trusted party to issue the corresponding private key. So what you can do is you can delegate, the VC can delegate some work to deans, some work to HODs. So then you will have hierarchical IV. So you will not only have one party which is issuing the private key, but there are some other layers like for department wise. So the CSE HOD will issue the private key to the CSE faculties. EC HODs will issue the private key to the EC faculties, like this one. Okay, that is called hierarchical identity-based encryption system, or you can say Hive. Okay, and this idea was given in individually in 2002, and this one. And in this one, the PKG root for public key generator, private key generator root delegates the capability of providing private key generation and identity authentication to lower level PKG. These are the lower level. Okay, and they are lower public keys. There are no lower level public key parameters. The parameter will be same for everyone. Only the PKG has they have the parameter. And the Alice can get their private key generation from the, if Alice is the faculty of CSE, you can get private key from the, and then ID LSC, he has to give them institute and institute ID, then CSE ID, and then his own ID, his own that which uniquely identifies himself. That he has to do. That will be his ID. That will be ID. And corresponding to that ID, the private key will be generated by the CSE. Okay, this is called hierarchy. Okay. So same thing. We are like ID also. Okay. So you have public parameters first part, then drive the private key. What you can say that the trusted party, he knows the identity which uniquely identify that person, and he has to compute the private key corresponding to this ID. Okay, so that is called drive. Then one more algorithm is drive, and then you have encrypt. Encrypt public key will be ID which uniquely identify the receiver, and the private key will be corresponding to that ID. This will be there. And when this L is the more layer, the more IDs will be there. ID of director, ID of dean, then ID of the department, something like that. So ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, then ID of the person. If you have more layers are there, more ID will be there. If L equal to 1, no layer is there, only director is there. ID of the director, I institute, and then ID of the person. L equal to 1. Then that will be the ID. So ID is basically a special case of height when depth is 1. Okay. So now we will see the scheme. This is the proof scheme.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Yeah.
I can continue, sir. Somebody unmuted.
Okay. So this is the case. So this IDE.
Madam, చూడండి madam.
Okay. That IDV is this IDV is similar to the way we have done in the dual public key crypto system. So almost same. Only thing is the one part, the key extraction part, will be added here. Rest encryption and decryption will be same. So that we'll see here. Okay. So it's similar to dual. Okay. So now the Astai and Picard, they gave one theorem, the algorithm, through which one can compute the trap generator algorithm. But Q is the input, Q is the size of the prime number, and N, and output will be A matrix N cross M and S. So N S is the master secret key. It's basically sort basis. Okay, sort basis, and A is the matrix, which is uniform matrix. Okay, so such that then A is strictly close to uniform, and S is sort for this one. So S is basically some kind of E. So E A equal to 0. Okay, so S is sort basis from which you can compute E also. So if you have sort basis, you can do anything. So as you have seen in previous also, so you have sort basis, from that you can compute E such that AE is equal to 0. So this is the option. You can compute E such that A equal to 0. So this is the one. Okay. So this is the theorem they have given. So you can come. So trap generator, there is the algorithm which will compute A and S is the sort basis. From this S, one can compute E such that A equal to 0. This theorem will be used here for the identity based encryption scheme. Okay. So now you need this sort basis works as a master key for the trusted party, for the VC. Okay, for the VC, he has S. Okay, and he has to create from this sort master key, he has to create the private key for the individuals. So now how it is done? So that we see now. So generate a trapdoor HA. So H is there, ID. So this ID will be HZQN. So your ID, which uniquely identify the person. That is the ID, and there is a hash which will convert that ID to vector of size n. So each element of size prime number q. Okay, this will construct. Okay, now that will be u. Okay, so that will be u. So then you have this is this master key already you have seen A and T. This A and S basically T here. So notations are T. You can say T or T. Okay. It is the same. So they will run the this trap generator algorithm and to get A and T, and this T will be the master key. Okay. Now what you will do is this is your public key, your email ID, and you need corresponding private key. You need private key corresponding to this ID from the VC. Okay. So what you will do is you will give this ID to VC, and you will say I am this person. So you will authenticate yourself, and then what you will do, you will compute hash of this ID U, and U will be this FA. So AE will be U. You will put U, and this is AE, and you'll say U is the output of this AE, and with the sort that master key T, master secret key T, you will compute E. Okay, and that E will be the private key corresponding to the ID. Okay, so that is the problem. So using this master key, so everyone whoever comes for the key, what you will do is you will find the hash of their ID, and that will be U, and then you will compute E such that AE will be equal to U. So that is possible because of sort basis. So there are algorithms for the sort basis. One can compute E such that A is equal to U. Okay, so this you will compute, and then E will be this private key, and U will be some kind of public key. Okay, so U is basically ID. ID is public key. U will be hash of that one. So U is public key. You can think of U a public key, and E is the private key. And then the encryption and decryption will be similar to the way you have done here. So you see. This is the one. So you see here, AX sort one. This is the U. Okay, and private key is X. E there is private key, and then you encrypt. Same encryption and decryption will be same. U is ID, the public key. That is the here it is U is B the public key. That is hash of ID. That will be U. So rest is same. Rest is same. This is a proof system. I leave this part. Okay. So this is the this part is over IIT base. This one. So quickly I'll go to another one. Okay. So those signature schemes, as you can see here. Digital signature, as you know, this part is similar to normal signature, except that it depends on the message. So this normal signature, as you say, that the director will sign on the report card of the student, and the signature will be unique, will be same for all the report cards. Okay, so the normal signature does not depend on the message, but digital signature depends on the message. Okay, it provides data integrity, data authentication, and non-repudiation. One party generates the signature. Anyone who knows the public key, they can verify it. So that is the reason. So this is a normal signature. You can see it based on non-unique handwriting scheme, and whoever knows that person in their signature, they can verify it. Okay. So this is the normal signature. It's independent of the message. Now you have digital signature. Here it has to depend on the message. So you have private key, like you need something, like normal signature, you have unique handwriting skill, unique handwriting that skill which others don't know. Similarly, in digital signature also you need something which only you know, others don't know. That will be the private key. Okay. So signature scheme requires message and private key, and it will compute the signature, and then everyone else, whoever knows the person, whoever knows the public key of the person, they can verify it. This is digital signature, and the digital signature depends on the message. Okay, and it has to be. Otherwise, if you see in the digital part, everything will be 0 1 0 1 0. So if I know if the digital signature does not depend on the message, if you create an algorithm where digital signature does not depend on the message, then what will happen? Suppose you know your VC's signature on some message. One message is there, and that VC signature on that VC's digital signature on that message is something, and somehow you knew it. You knew the VC's previous signature. Okay, so what will happen? The signature will be finally what? Digital signature will be finally everything will be 0 1 0 1 0 1 1 0 1 0 1. So you can easily copy, and you can create a new message and paste there. And that will be big fraud. Okay, so that's why digital signature has to depend on the message. Okay, so digital signature are of three algorithms are there. Key generation same, and the signature, it can be randomized one, and then verification algorithm. And the security of the signature is total break when private key is completely compromised. Okay, selective forgery, the adversary can create a valid signature on message of his choice. That is, it is dangerous. Okay, selective forgery is dangerous because the adversary is creating signature on some valid message. The message of his choice is valid message. Transfer this much money. Okay, so this kind of things. So selective forgery will be dangerous. Now, existential forgery. It basically means the adversary can create valid signature on some arbitrary message. The message may not be meaningful. Okay, so suppose if you get your VC signature on some arbitrary message which doesn't have any meaning, then that will not be useful for you. Okay, so the existential forgery may not be dangerous. So this, and then you have attack. I forgot to give you attack. So the adversary there are different type of attacks where the adversary knows. So you have CMA attack. The highest type of attack is chosen message attack. Okay, so adversary knows some previous message and the director's signature on this message. And of his choice. Okay. So the adversary knows his choice of message and the director's signature on those messages. That is called CMA, chosen message attack. Okay, so this is highest kind of attack. Then you have KMA also, known message attack. So adversary knows some message and corresponding signature. The message may not be of his choice. Okay, this you know that. So this is called CMA. So what is the security meaning of the security in the signature scheme? Your signature scheme is secure if the highest adversary is stronger. The stronger adversary is who has CMA facility, who knows some message and corresponding signature. Okay, so the highest strong adversary. And what is the easiest job? Among these three, the easiest job is existential forgery. This will be tough. This will be more tough. So the strong adversary, the security is even the strong adversary cannot make existential forgery. So that is the security. So if you want to prove that your scheme is secure, you have to prove that the strong CMA adversary cannot make small thing. Small thing is existential forgery. Among these are three types of forgery. Either you got VC's the private key or selective forgery. You can do VC signature on your choice of message without doing the private key. Or this is the easiest one. So you cannot make the easy task. That is existential forcing. Okay, this is the one. So that you count in the small things also. So that is called. So if you want to prove that your scheme is secure, you have to prove that even the strong CNI adversary cannot make a small task like existential forcing. This you have to prove. Okay, this you have to prove. So now there are so many signature schemes are there. So I'll just go through this one. GGS signature, so same as previous one. So now the key generation will be good basis. Then you have bad basis, and then you have bad basis will be public key, and the signing signature will use private key. It will use private key. The private key is good basis B1, B2, B3, and he got D. Document is D of size dimension n. So it will convert message into the vector of dimension n and use Babai algorithm. Okay, good basis to compute a vector S that is close to D. So D may not be the D, definitely it will not be the lattice point. D is the document. So you make it vector, not lattice point. So it will not be lattice point. Okay. So if it is it comes out to be lattice point, then you have to choose, you have to convert the D such that it will not be lattice point. It will be a vector. Okay. And then vector, then you use good basis. You know that Babai's algorithm, using good basis, you can get a lattice point which is close to the vector D. Okay, that you will get. That you will get S. Okay, that you get. So close to that vector. So this is the point. This is the vector. Then this is the vector. Okay. Then you will get this one. It is S. Using good basis that you can get. Okay, good basis. So that once you get S, then you write S as a linear combination of public keys. Bad basis. Linear combination of bad basis. W1, W2. You write S as a linear combination of W1, W2, W1. And those A1, A2 will be the signature on message D. Signature will be D and A1. Okay, this will be signature. And once you give this D and signature to the receiver, what you will do? You will have and D. So you will have A1, A2, and you will have W1, W2 public keys. Okay, you will have public key. So you will compute A1, W1, A and W1. That will be the S. That will be the S. And then you will why you will convince that this will be correct. If S is very near to D, so find the distance. If S is very close to D, then you will say that yeah, this is the correct. Because S is actually close to D. This is okay. Okay, so similarly you have the example I have given in that book. The book is very simple. So that similarly you can have cryptographic hash functions. You know, cryptographic hash functions are three property. Is basically it converts large message to, let's say you have hash function of SHA 512. So this is more than 512 bits. Output is 512 bits. This is many to one function. Okay, so there will be more than one message which will have the same hash, and that will be there because this is a compression function. Okay, but the cryptographic hash functions are designed in such a way that although there will be a collision, there will be more than one message which will have same hash, but for the adversary it is designed such a way that for adversary it will be hard to find the collision, hard to find two messages which have the same hash value. Although it is there, but the adversary cannot compute it. But it's hard one. That is the hash function. Okay. So if one tries, one can do try. If one tries, it will take these many years to compute these many hashes. So if you want to try, what you have to try? If you want to find the collision, what you do? You M1, you find the collision of M1. What you do is find a hash of M1. Let's say this is H1. Okay, this is H1. So this is H1. Okay. Now you want to find collision. What you do? You choose another M2 and find his hash. If his hash is same as H1, then you got the collision. Then you are very lucky. Otherwise, you find another hash, another message. Choose another message and do the same thing. Find another one, same thing. In the worst case, if this is 512 bits, so after 2 to the power 512, definitely you will get one message whose hash will be same as the complexity will be big of 2 to the power 512. Because this output is 512 bits. So number of different outputs will be 2 to the power 512. 2 to the power 512. So after these many outputs, if you try, definitely there will be this worst case. So definitely there will be one message whose hash will be same as hash of M1. And if you do this one on an average also, it will take many years. Okay, that's all. So similarly here also then one same is based on the IS problem, and that you can see. If you see this one, you can see this into this one, and if you want to see why if there is a collision, AY1 is equal to AY2. If 2Y1, Y2, there is just Y1, Y2, such that this is equal to 0. Then you can say AY1 minus Y2 is equal to 0. Okay. Then you can solve SI's problem. SI's problem means you can't find a vector here which is A into E will be 0. So this is the same thing, same reduction also. If somebody can find the collision, then one can solve the SI's hard problem. Since SI's hard problem is a hard, no one can do it. So it means no one can find the collision. So this is a simple idea that is best as possible. It's clear? So this proof you can say simple. Okay, so A into B. If A can find the collision in hash function, then B can solve the SI's hard problem. That is the reduction we have proved. If you prove this one, okay, and then this is, since this is cannot be done, so one cannot find the collision. So this is the security of the hash function. Okay, so I'll stop here, and if you have many other things are there, so I'll stop. If any questions are there, you can ask me.
Good evening, sir. This is Balaji.
Yeah.
Yeah, questions from the participants. Dr. Balaji, sir.
Sir, first of all, it's my pleasure to thank you for valuable time, sir.
Your voice is not audible.
What about now, ma'am?
Yeah, now it is okay. Please be louder.
Okay, ma'am. Sir, I have a small doubt, sir. When you're just discussing about digital signature, and I've just been one of my research areas, so I'm working on SH4 and improvement of SH5. So how far that is your way in which the algorithm which you thought will be of a different, and when it compared with SH4 or SH5, sir?
What is SH4? I don't know.
Sorry, SH4, sir. SH4. That is the which we will be using in a cryptography for a digital signature.
SH, what is the spelling? I full form.
SH4, sir.
SH?
SH4. It is one of the, digital signature algorithm. In both we can have a better security provision.
So what do you want? Is it people are using this one?
No, I'm just working on it because this is one of my area where we are just working on it. So when I just listen to your speech, what you have given is a digital signature with algorithm which you have explained. How far this is going to be better than a conventional cryptography algorithm, sir? That is my question.
No, which one? This SH4? I don't know about SH4.
No, sir.
SH.
No problem. You have just explained an algorithm based on a different algorithm. How far the conventional cryptography digital signature algorithm is going to have a better improvement when it compares with your what is the algorithm you have taught right now?
This that is built. You want to say that the lattice-based how the lattice-based digital signature is different from the conventional digital signature?
Okay.
Yeah, this is the question.
Yes, sir. That is what his question is.
So see, as I told you, normal digital signature like you have ECC and is used in the blockchain. Okay, ECC, elliptical digital signature, they are using blockchain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other Schnorr signatures, and you have DSS is similar. The Schnorr and DSS, that is the standard one, standard digital signatures. So those are much more efficient than these digital signatures. These lattice-based digital signatures. There you can see, here you have, as I told you, public key is very large here. If you see the size of the public key in terms of bits, so if you see, you can see DSS or elliptic curve. So there are points, elliptic curve XY, and digital signature you have points DSS, ECC, and DSS. The public key size will be only one value which is in the ZQ. Okay, and that Q is, let's say, 1000 bits. So the size of the public key will be 1000 bits in the conventional one. But here the size of the public key will be very high. I would say, if the dimension has to be 300, and each will be around the 300 bits. Q will be 300. So 300 will be 300. This was size. And similarly, you can see ciphertext size also will be very large. And computation also will be more. Computation may not be that much more. As you can see, just you have to multiply and add matrices. That computation may not be more, but the ciphertext size and public key size is very large. That is the difference. Only benefit is these kind of lattice-based signatures. They are quantum. Till now, there is no quantum algorithm which can solve these hard problems. The hard problem is like from bad basis to compute good basis. So there is no algorithm, quantum algorithm, which can compute the good basis from the bad basis. But if you see in the RSA or if you see the ECC, which is based on a DLP problem, discrete logarithm problem, okay, an additive discrete logarithm problem, and similarly the DSS is the standard one, which is used widely. They are using DLP, multiplicative. Okay, so there, these DLP problem can be so. If tomorrow quantum computers comes into reality, then there is a source algorithm. I think we might have discussed today. I saw this that the source algorithm was there, and that you can easily crack DLP problem using source algorithm if on quantum computer. Okay, so but these things you can't break. Quantum computer also cannot break this kind of thing. I hope is okay now.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions from the audience? Participants? So thank you very much, sir, for